I used to think life was something you could design. Like a building. Lay the right foundation, measure twice, build straight, and nothing could collapse on you. But I was wrong. My name is Marcus Bell. I'm 42. I live just outside Seattle, in a modern cedar and glass house I designed myself. A home I once called my masterpiece. I'm an architect, not the flashy, ego-driven kind who craves magazine covers. I've always cared more about the work than the spotlight. And for a long time, I believed I had built a perfect life. My wife, Isabel, was my anchor. Elegant, intelligent, steady. We'd been married almost 10 years. Our routines were sacred. Sunday mornings with croissants and French press coffee, late-night critiques of each other's projects sprawled on the living room floor, spontaneous drives to the coast just to breathe. We didn't have kids, by choice. We poured everything into each other, or so I thought. Then there was Leon, my best friend since design school. He was the kind of guy everyone remembered. Larger-than-life charisma, always the loudest laugh in the room. He was my best man, my business partner, my brother in every way that mattered. We started our boutique firm together fresh out of college, pulling all-nighters in a drafty warehouse with a leaky roof, designing restaurants and beach houses for anyone who'd take a chance on us. Over the years, the three of us, me, Isabel, and Leon, became a kind of trio. We took trips together, spent holidays side by side, hosted client dinners as a team. They were comfortable together, easy even. I never questioned it. Leon was family. Isabel was my wife. That was the equation. It didn't need solving. But I started noticing small things. At first, I chalked them up to stress. Work had been brutal, supply chain issues, demanding clients, tighter margins. Isabel seemed tired, more withdrawn. She stopped joining our Thursday design reviews at the office. Leon, too, started missing partnership meetings. He was always stuck with a client, or off-site doing a walkthrough. Isabel began staying out later, blaming it on work dinners or just needing air. She'd come home quiet, distracted. Once, she forgot to pick up coffee beans, a silly thing, except she never forgot. I teased her about it. She gave me a blank smile and went upstairs without responding. Still, I didn't ask questions. I didn't want to be that guy. The insecure one, the suspicious husband. I figured, hoped, it was just a phase. Then came the night everything shifted. It was a Thursday. I'd wrapped up work early and picked up her favorite takeout, Vietnamese from that little spot in Capitol Hill. The sun had already dipped behind the trees when I pulled into our driveway. Isabel's car was nowhere in sight. I set the table anyway, lit a candle, just to make it feel like something. Then I waited, and waited. No call, no text. Around 10:45, I heard tires crunching in the driveway. I stood at the window as she got out of the car. Her hair was windblown. Her blouse was wrinkled, the top two buttons undone. Her heels dangled from one hand. She walked like someone exhausted, or drunk, or satisfied. I couldn't tell. She opened the door and stepped inside, avoiding my eyes. "You're late," I said, trying to sound light. She dropped her shoes by the door. "I know. Everything okay?" She didn't answer. Then I caught it. A scent on her that didn't belong. It wasn't hers. It was musky, sharp, unfamiliar. Cologne. Not mine. I took a step closer. "Where were you?" She moved past me toward the stairs. "Out." "Out where?" She shrugged. "Does it matter?" I followed her halfway up. "Izzy, what's going on with you lately?" She turned back, her eyes flat. "Nothing. I'm tired." "Tired of what?" "Just tired," she said, and walked away. I stood there, still holding the paper bag of food. The candle flickered on the dining table, untouched. The room was quiet. My life, the one I thought I built with care, had a crack in it. Just a hairline. But I knew from years of experience, hairline cracks never stay small. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed next to Isabel, listening to her breathe, and realized I was already alone. Our wedding anniversary fell on a Saturday that year. 10 years. A full decade. I thought that meant something. I spent the afternoon prepping her favorite dinner, roast chicken with lemon and rosemary, garlic mashed potatoes, sautéed spinach. I even baked a damn chocolate tart from scratch. I had jazz playing low in the background, the table set with cloth napkins, and the bottle of wine we'd been saving since our honeymoon in Napa. She didn't come home. By 8, the food was cold. I texted once, "Everything okay?" and got no reply. By 10, I poured myself a glass of wine and sat in the dark, staring at the front door like it might explain everything. She walked in just after midnight. No apology. No smile. Just dropped her keys in the bowl and peeled off her coat. "You forgot our anniversary," I said quietly. She paused. "What? Our anniversary?" "10 years, Isabel." She blinked at me like I was speaking another language. "Oh," she said. "Right. You were out all night, and you didn't remember." She exhaled hard and leaned against the wall. "Marcus, I don't have the energy for this tonight." "For what? For being held accountable?" "Don't," she said. Her voice was clipped, controlled, like she'd been waiting for this moment, rehearsing it. "Where were you?" I asked. She crossed her arms. "Out." "Out where?" A pause. "Then, with someone." I felt the words before I heard them. They landed heavy, thudding into my chest like bricks. "With who?" I asked, barely managing the words. She stared at me. Cold. "Does it matter?" "Yes," I said. "It matters." She looked away for a long second. When she turned back, her eyes were sharp. "Leon." My knees buckled. I didn't fall, not physically, but something inside me collapsed. Like a beam giving way under too much weight. "No," I said. It came out broken, half-whispered. "That's not possible." "We didn't mean for it to happen," she said flatly. "It just did." "How long?" She hesitated. "Since last spring." I did the math. A year. More than a year. "You've been sleeping with my best friend for over a year?" She didn't flinch. "Yes." Jesus Christ. I staggered toward the kitchen, gripping the counter like it might keep me upright. My chest hurt, like something was trying to punch its way out. "I didn't tell you because I didn't want to hurt you," she said. I laughed, sharp and bitter. "That's rich. You didn't want to hurt me, so you screwed the one person I trusted most in the world." Her voice was quiet now. "I'm pregnant." I turned to her. "What?" "I'm pregnant," she repeated. "It's his." I stood there, silent. My world, the house, the firm, the marriage, it was all caving in around me. And I couldn't move. I couldn't even breathe. "I'm moving in with him," she added. "We've been planning it. He left the firm 2 weeks ago to avoid conflict. But we're done pretending." I looked around the living room. The framed photos on the wall. The books on the shelves. The lamp she picked out from that little shop in Queen Anne. The couch we'd picked together. All of it suddenly felt foreign. Like someone else's life. "You're just going to walk away?" I asked. "After everything?" "I don't love you anymore, Marcus," she said. "I haven't for a long time." She didn't say sorry. She didn't cry. She just walked upstairs, like we'd just finished a normal conversation. I stood there in the custom-built living room, the same one Leon and I had designed together, and felt the full weight of what I had lost. Not just my wife. Not just my best friend. But the life I thought I built. The future I thought was mine. It was gone. And I never even saw it leaving. The first week, I didn't leave the house. I didn't shower. I barely ate. I sat on the couch and stared at nothing until my eyes burned. Every corner of the house whispered reminders. Isabel's scarf on the stair rail. Leon's signed blueprint framed in the hallway. The ceramic coffee mugs we bought at that craft fair in Portland, one of which she took with her. I threw the other one in the trash. People started calling. At first, it was polite concern. "Hey Marcus, just checking in, you okay?" Then came the pity. "I heard about Isabel and Leon. I can't believe it. You deserve better, man." Then the well-meaning but infuriating advice. "You'll bounce back, buddy. You just gotta get back out there." Or worse, the spiritual optimists. "Maybe this happened for a reason. Maybe this is your path to something better." I ignored them all. I didn't want a path. I wanted my life back. The firm had taken a hit when Leon left, and I couldn't bring myself to care. Clients started dropping off. I let voicemails pile up. My junior associate, Olivia, tried to handle things, but I could hear the worry in her emails. After a while, even she stopped reaching out. I'd built everything with them, Isabel and Leon. Now they were building a new life together, and I was just the sad leftover. Then one afternoon, maybe 3 weeks in, someone knocked on my door. I didn't answer at first, but they didn't go away. When I finally opened it, I froze. It was Natalia, Leon's ex. She looked sharper than I remembered, hair slicked back in a low bun, wearing a black turtleneck and blazer. She looked like someone who came prepared. "I was hoping you'd answer," she said. I blinked. What are you doing here? Can I come in?" I hesitated, then stepped aside. She walked into the living room like she'd been here before, and she had, back when things were different. Back when she and Leon used to throw game nights with us and laugh over cheap wine. Nice place, she said, eyeing the room. Still feels like a catalog. I smirked faintly. Yeah, I guess the illusion held up longer than the people. She turned to face me. I'm not here to make small talk. Clearly. I know about them, she said. Isabel and Leon. I know everything. I exhaled. Great. Then you know you're talking to the guy who got completely blindsided. She didn't flinch. Same. There was a silence between us. Heavy, but mutual. Like we'd both been hit by the same truck. She walked over to the bookshelf and pulled out one of our old firm portfolios. You know he's starting something new, right? Leon. She nodded. He registered a new LLC last month. He's calling it Edge and Atlas. Sounds pretentious, which is on brand. I didn't say anything. She held the portfolio up. He's courting your old clients. Using your designs in his pitch deck. I've seen it. I swallowed hard. Why are you telling me this? She crossed her arms. Because I hate betrayal. And I hate that people like him always land on their feet. So this is what? Revenge? Her voice lowered. Not revenge. Consequences. I studied her face. She wasn't angry the way I was. She was focused. Cold, even. Like she'd already made peace with the pain and was now looking for something to build from the wreckage. I know things, she continued. About his finances. His investors. The shady way he inflated valuations when we were still together. Things that could bury his precious little startup before it even gets off the ground. I stared at her. Why me? Because no one knows his work better than you. You can spot a fake permit from across the room. And because you're the only other person he underestimated. I looked down at my hands. They were still rough from sketching models and typing specs for years. But I hadn't created anything in weeks. I hadn't even opened my laptop. Look, Natalia said, stepping closer. I'm not asking you to torch the building. I'm asking if you're tired of watching him build it on your back. I looked up at her. And if I am? She smiled faintly. Then we talk. She headed for the door, but stopped before leaving. I don't forgive betrayal, she said, her voice calm. Do you? She didn't wait for an answer. She just walked out. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel numb. I felt something real. A pulse. A possibility. Something sharp enough to cut through the silence. A week after Natalia came by, I shaved. Trimmed my beard. Ironed a shirt. It felt ceremonial, like waking up after a long coma and deciding I still remembered how to be someone. I started going back into the office. Not to fix the firm. Not yet. Just to move. To think. I sat at my desk and pulled open the old hard drives. Projects Leon had started and never finished. Contracts we co-signed. Permits I'd filed under my name that somehow wound up on presentations I never approved. Natalia wasn't bluffing. She showed up 3 days later with a manila folder thick enough to choke on. His startups all smoke, she said, spreading documents across my kitchen table. Shiny branding. Buzzwords. Flashy projections. But the numbers? Completely cooked. I picked up a spreadsheet labeled Coastal Development Phase 2 Investor Deck. One permit was dated 6 months before the city had even released applications. Another had Leon's signature on a zoning clearance I knew damn well didn't exist. My name was in the footer. He's forging documentation? I asked. He's desperate, she said, tapping a highlighted cell. He promised investors he had permits locked down. He didn't. So he made them up. Jesus. It gets better. This, she pointed to another page, is a fake environmental compliance letter. From a firm that doesn't exist. He used it to secure a 7-figure investment. I leaned back. My head was buzzing, but it wasn't from wine. It was the jolt of purpose. The first time in months I didn't feel like a walking ruin. Okay, I said. What's the move? Natalia's lips curled into a smile. We leak it. Quietly. Strategically. Let someone else ask the questions. An industry watchdog, a skeptical investor. We don't need to accuse him. We just need to light the match and watch who runs for water. I looked at her. And you think we'll get away with this? We're not lying, she said. He is. We worked at night. Met in cafes and dark corners of the library, laptops glowing like fireflies. She had every email from her time as co-founder. Things Leon forgot to delete. I cross-checked them with permit timelines, contract logs, even old blueprints. It wasn't hard. He got sloppy when he got cocky. We created a burner email. Sent the evidence to a well-known design publications investigative team. Then we set up an anonymous tip line and dumped a carefully curated PDF into the inbox of one of Leon's key investors, a venture group out of Palo Alto known for zero tolerance on fraud. It took 2 days before the whispers started. Rumors in architecture circles. A project indefinitely paused. An investor requesting updated documentation. Someone on Reddit claiming Leon had been ghosting subcontractors. By week 2, I was working full-time again, but not at my old firm. I had joined a competing studio, Redpoint Design, small, sharp, aggressive. They reached out after seeing one of my old builds get spotlighted in a local sustainability feature. I said yes before I had time to overthink it. I didn't tell them anything about Leon. I didn't need to. I let my work speak for itself. I pulled late nights, pitched sharp, concise concepts, won over a difficult client in my first week. It was like dusting off an old part of myself, the part that remembered how to win. The studio director, Tom, took a liking to me. He was tough, but fair. He invited me into high-level strategy meetings, handed me a stalled project, and said, "Make it sing." He even asked me to lead our pitch for a high-profile community center renovation, the same project Leon's firm had just submitted a bid for. I smiled when I saw the client list. The same name Leon had once bragged about locking down. I didn't brag. I didn't even tell Natalia. I just got to work. We submitted a lower bid. Cleaner, leaner, built on real permits. I'd spent years doing the right thing while Leon cut corners. Now I was cutting him out of the race, legally, surgically, without making a sound. Natalia sent me a message that night. Watchdogs asking follow-up questions. He's sweating. I replied, "Good. I'm just getting started." I used to think justice came from shouting the truth at the top of your lungs. Turns out, sometimes it's better whispered, like a slow leak in a foundation. One that brings the whole house down. It started quietly. A couple of client calls Leon didn't return. Then a contractor in Tacoma walked off-site mid-foundation pour, citing payment issues. The cracks widened fast. By the end of the month, Edge and Atlas was bleeding. I knew it not from the headlines. They hadn't hit yet, but from the murmurs floating through the local architecture community. People talk, especially when a golden boy starts slipping. Natalia and I stayed out of sight. We didn't gloat. We didn't need to. The documents we leaked to the watchdog group had triggered a formal inquiry. Nothing public yet, but permits were being re-verified. Bids were being re-evaluated. Emails were being scrutinized. One investor, a firm Leon had boasted about landing during a rooftop champagne toast, quietly pulled out of a major waterfront project. Another, based in Chicago, issued a vague but pointed statement about reviewing internal partnerships. Isabel, meanwhile, kept posting online like she was living inside a magazine spread. Smiling selfies from brunches. Sonogram photos with cutesy captions. "Our little architect, coming this spring." I scrolled past them, expressionless. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even sad. Just detached. The fire had already burned through everything I cared about. Now I was just watching the smoke settle. An old employee from my and Leon's original firm, Sean, reached out one afternoon. He was the office tech guy, smart but underpaid, always overlooked by Leon. "Hey," he messaged. "Heard you're at Redpoint now. I'm, looking to jump ship. Leon still hasn't paid us bonuses from last quarter. People are pissed." I didn't say much. Just told him to send a resume and that I'd pass it along. But we kept chatting. Over a few days, Sean started dropping more. "Some files are missing from the server. Leon's been dodging questions. They're asking us to redo permits that were supposedly already approved." Then he said it. I think he knew this was coming. "There's a burner laptop in his office. No one knows what it's for." I didn't reply to that, but I forwarded the message to Natalia. She responded within minutes. They always plan their escape, until the exits are sealed. Meanwhile, at Redpoint, I kept moving. Our firm landed the community center project Leon had once called his legacy piece. I had a quiet conversation with the client over coffee, not revealing my connection, just asking what swayed them. "Transparency," they said. "Your team was sharp. Professional. There's not so much. Lots of fluff. Big promises." Something felt off. I nodded and sipped my espresso. "Glad we could earn your trust." The next day, the local business journal ran a small piece. "Emerging firm under scrutiny for document discrepancies." An anonymous tip led to an audit of Edge and Atlas, a boutique design studio launched last year. Sources confirm city officials are re-examining permits submitted for two high-profile developments. The article didn't mention Leon by name, but it didn't have to. I sat at my desk and stared at the screen for a long time. I wasn't smiling. I wasn't even relieved. But I was done. Later that week, I walked past a bookstore downtown. A flyer was taped to the window. Upcoming talk, The Future of Urban Design, hosted by Edge and Atlas, TBD. Event postponed. I stood there for a minute. Then I walked away. The fuse had burned down. The structure was failing. And Leon didn't even know where the fire had started. I wasn't planning to see her again. It was a Thursday, late morning. I'd stepped out to grab a sandwich from this corner cafe near the Red Point office, a tiny place with decent coffee and terrible jazz. I was waiting on my order when I heard the door chime behind me. I turned. Isabel. She was thinner, tired, her hair tied back in a lazy knot. No makeup, not the polished version of her I remembered. And strapped across her chest in a soft carrier, sleeping soundly, was a baby. His baby. She saw me before I could turn away, froze for half a second, then smiled. Like we were just two old friends running into each other at a farmer's market. Marcus, she said, surprised. Or pretending to be. Isabel, I said calmly. We stared at each other for a beat. Then she stepped forward, glancing down at the baby. This is Ethan, she said. He's almost 3 months. I nodded, not looking at the child. You look tired. She gave a weak laugh. Yeah, it's been a lot. She shifted awkwardly. Leon's not around today. He had some kind of meeting. Things have been, she trailed off. Complicated. I said, letting it hang. There was a silence. You look good, she said finally. Healthy. Better, actually. I am. I mean, considering everything. I wasn't sure. She stopped, biting her lip. I guess I thought you'd be worse. I smiled slightly. I was. Then I wasn't. She looked down at her coffee, unsure what to say next. I let her sit in it. I've been following some things, she said quietly. Industry news. I heard about Edge and Atlas. It's rough. I shrugged. Business gets messy when it's built on lies. She winced. You think I didn't know that? No, I said, leveling my eyes at her. I think you knew. You just didn't care. She looked like she wanted to argue. Then she didn't. Her eyes shifted toward the window. I made a mistake, she said finally. Voice low, flat. I thought Leon would be different once we were together. I don't know what I thought. I sipped my coffee. You don't need to explain anything to me. No, but I want to, she said quickly. I want you to know. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did. I tilted my head. On purpose. For over a year. She didn't reply. I leaned forward slightly. You once told me I was too predictable. That I always took the safe path. Remember that? She nodded slowly. Well, this is what the other path looks like. Her face flushed. I just didn't expect all of this. Of course not, I said. You didn't think consequences were part of your story. She hesitated, then met my eyes again. Is it true? That you're the reason his firm is collapsing? I didn't blink. You tell me. Her lips parted, like she wanted to protest. But she didn't. She looked down at the baby. Adjusted the strap on the carrier. He cries a lot, she murmured. All night sometimes. I'm exhausted. I didn't say anything. She glanced up. I miss how steady you were. How quiet our life was. I didn't realize until it was gone. You didn't realize a lot of things, I said. Then she whispered, barely audible. I made a mistake. I stood up, tossed my coffee cup in the bin, picked up my sandwich from the counter. As I turned to leave, I looked at her one last time and said, yes, you did. Then I walked out. Outside, the air was cold and bright. People passed by, headphones in, coffees clutched in gloved hands. Life moved on. And for the first time since everything broke, I didn't feel the weight of her anymore. Only the lightness of having let go. It was raining the night Natalia called. I was standing by my kitchen window, watching the drops trail down the glass like veins, when my phone buzzed on the counter. No text, no warning, just her name flashing across the screen. I picked up. It's done, she said. Her voice was steady, but I could hear it underneath, the slow burn of satisfaction. Tell me. Leon's assets are frozen. All of them. Personal, business, everything tied to Edge and Atlas. I stayed silent. The audit uncovered multiple forged permits, 2 falsified environmental impact reports, and a dozen projects using duplicate contract language stolen from our original firm. That's enough for jail time. Maybe. Depends how much he talks, she said. But the lawsuits are coming. Investors are pissed. They're demanding repayment. He has no way to cover it. I let that sit for a second. And Isabel? There was a pause. She's not listed on anything. But she's listed as co-tenant on their rental. Eviction's likely. The rent payments stopped 3 weeks ago. I exhaled slowly. Let me guess. He didn't tell her. Of course not. Why ruin the fantasy? I nodded to myself. Thank you. No need, she said. We just finished what he started. She hung up. I stood there for a while, listening to the rain. It wasn't joy I felt. Not revenge. Just closure. The kind that doesn't come easy. That weekend, Isabel called. For times. I didn't answer. Not once. She left voicemails, the first few polite, unsure. Marcus, hey. Can we talk? Please call me. Then anxious. Something's going on with Leon. I can't reach him. Rent's overdue, and I didn't know, and then finally, defeated. I don't know what to do. I shouldn't be calling. I'm sorry. I deleted each one without listening to the end. Monday morning, I heard through a former mutual colleague that Leon was officially under investigation for fraud. The state licensing board had launched their own probe. His firm was shut down. A week later, I saw a notice online. Edge and Atlas dissolves amid scandal. That same day, I heard Isabel had left Seattle, packed up her things, moved in with her parents in Bellingham. No goodbye, no final message. I thought that would be the end of it. Until Thursday evening. I was leaving the office, late, the hallway quiet, lights low, when I stepped out into the lobby and saw him. Leon. He looked awful, like a man on the losing end of too many sleepless nights. His face was sunken, cheeks pale, beard grown and uneven. His blazer was wrinkled, shoes scuffed. He stood near the glass entrance, staring at me like he wasn't sure I was real. I didn't stop walking. Marcus, he said, voice hoarse. Wait. I walked past him. Please, he said, following. Just 5 minutes. I need to talk. I didn't answer. I pushed the door open and kept walking out into the wet, empty street. Behind me, his voice cracked. Please. I need help. But I didn't turn around. He was finally on his knees. And I didn't know him a damn thing. He showed up at my office the following Monday. Not unannounced, he'd called ahead. My assistant, nervous, knocked on my door and said, there's a Leon Barlow here. He said you're expecting him? I wasn't. But I let him in. The man who walked through the door wasn't the Leon I remembered. The polished, loud, unshakable force of nature partner I once trusted with my career and my marriage. That version was gone. This Leon was gray around the eyes. Paler. Thinner. Wearing a button-down that didn't quite fit and a jacket that had seen better days. He looked like he hadn't slept. Like regret had been gnawing at his insides. Marcus, he said with a forced smile. Thanks for seeing me. I gestured to the chair across from my desk. Have a seat. He sat down slowly, like it hurt. I'm not here to fight, he said. I wanted to talk. I leaned back. Talk. He swallowed hard, then reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. Laid it on my desk. I don't expect forgiveness, he said. But I thought maybe, if you read this, you'd understand. I wrote it for the board, but it's more for you. An explanation. I didn't touch it. He shifted, clearly unsettled by my silence. I lost everything, he said quietly. The firm's gone. The investors, they're suing. The state's pressing charges. Isabel left. She took the baby and went to her parents. I've been staying in a friend's guest room. No money. No car. Nothing. I kept my eyes on him. Still didn't say a word. I made mistakes, he went on, his voice cracking. I got in too deep. I thought I could fix it before anyone noticed. He stopped himself. Honestly, I don't know what I thought. He looked up at me. I know I betrayed you. I know I ruined everything. But we were brothers once. You and me. I didn't mean for it to get this far. I sat forward, resting my hands on the desk. What did you expect, Leon? I don't know. Just a chance. Maybe we could talk. Maybe rebuild something. I let that hang in the air for a moment. Then I smiled. Cold, sharp, not even pretending to be kind. I have nothing to rebuild with you. He blinked. I get that. I deserve that. But I want you to know, I see it now. All of it. What I did. How wrong it was. You don't see anything, Leon, I said flatly. You see consequences. You're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry you lost. He flinched. I stood, picked up the piece of paper he'd placed on my desk, and slid it back toward him. Keep your confession. Send it to someone who cares. He reached for it slowly, hand trembling. I walked around the desk, opened the door. He stood up, almost dazed. You're really not going to say anything else? I stepped aside, gesturing to the hallway. I will say one thing, I said. You're not just a thief, Leon. You're a fool. He stared at me, but I didn't break. You had everything, I said. The firm, the friendship, the trust. And you traded it all for cheap validation and a temporary high. You didn't just betray me. You torched your own future. That's the part you still don't understand. He stepped into the hallway like he was walking into wind. The weight of it all, the shame, the defeat, hung on him like wet clothes. I closed the door behind him. The latch clicked. And for the first time since it all began, the silence in my office didn't feel empty. It felt clean, like a house after a storm, stripped bare, but still standing. And finally free.